Chapter 2083. This time, the medicine sect has come up with a very good reason, so that we can't find a reason to reject them at the moment. Back then, when the medicine sect's sect master had been chatting with Master, he had mentioned that if there was an opportunity, the two sects would exchange pointers to promote the efforts of both sects' pill refiners. Master had thought that the sect master had casually mentioned it, so he had agreed without much thought. Now, it seems that the medicine sect's sect master has clearly calculated everything, so we can only accept it now. After all, based on Master's status, he can't possibly go back on his word. Bewitching's eyes were filled with exasperation. He never thought that the medicine sect would come up with such a plan. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes filled with understanding. This matter could be considered as a joke, but it could also be considered as a promise. This was not Tian's fault. When the other party had made such a joke, anyone would have agreed half-heartedly. However, they would have treated it as a joke, and would not have taken it to heart. Who would have thought that the medicine sect would seize this opportunity? If the Tiangang sect had rejected them, they would have lacked the grace of a great sect. However, if they had accepted it just like that, they would feel as if they had swallowed a fly. It seems that the other party had set up a trap. They had thought of this plan long ago. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly spoke. Many of the leaders of the forces were cunning old foxes. When dealing with such people, one really couldn't relax at all. Otherwise, he might be swallowed by it if he wasn't careful. Bewitching gently nodded. Now that I think about it, that is indeed the case. However, we have no other choice now. The Tiangang sect may have the pill refinement hall, but there aren't that many disciples in the pill refinement hall. Even if the medicine sect were to recruit all the pill refiners in the sect, it shouldn't be enough for their needs, right? Bailey Hongzhuang gently furrowed her brows as a sense of confusion filled her eyes. The pill refinement hall held a very important position in the Tiangang sect. Most of the pills that the sect's disciples require for their cultivation were provided by the pill refinement hall. If the medicine sect were to recruit the disciples, the impact would be very great. The Tiangang sect is the leader among the sects, and our pill refinement skills are very outstanding. The medicine sect wants to make a move on us, because we have enough influence. Once our sect's alchemists are lured away by them, then other sects' alchemists will naturally have other ideas. Besides, this way, many pill refiners would rush towards the medicine sect's reputation. Bewitching analyzed the situation to Bailey Hongzhuang. He never thought that the medicine sect would be so scheming. However, the current situation could only continue like this. Then what's the specific arrangement? Bailey Hongzhuang asked curiously. The medicine sect will send some outstanding pill refiners to compete with the pill refiners in the sect. If we win, the medicine sect will give us many pills that we need. If we lose, then we won't be able to stop the alchemists from leaving with them, Bewitching said slowly. Thus, we can only win this competition. If we lose, although the losses won't be too great, we will lose the face of our sect. I understand. Bailey Hongzhuang understands the situation very well. The medicine sect may have used a name to send them over, but their actions were no different from a provocation. If the Tiangang sect were to lose, they would lose all face. Chapter 2084. From Bewitching's words, Bailey Hongzhuang finally understood the true situation of the alchemist competition. The medicine sect focused on medicine, and was equally famous in the Shengxian continent. Everyone knew that the medicine sect had the most number of alchemists. The reason why the medicine sect wanted to recruit alchemists from other places was to win over all the outstanding alchemists in the Shengxian continent to the medicine sect. As a result, the various sects would have a shortage of medicinal pills. When that happens, the medicine sect's status would naturally rise with the tide. Even though the medicine sect's current status was not bad, it was still a distance away from their requirements. This was why they had chosen to start with the Tiangang sect. The medicine sect had many alchemists, and they usually focused on refining medicine. Naturally, there was no need to elaborate on their medicine refining skills. In comparison, even though the Tiangang sect's alchemists had pretty good medicine refining skills, they did not have enough confidence to compete with the medicine sect. Because they could not afford to lose, they must win. However, it was not an easy task to achieve victory. Bailey Hongzhuang pondered over this matter as she slowly walked towards the Vermilion Bird Palace Hall. She never thought that such a problem would suddenly arise at a time like this. It was really troublesome. On the other hand, Yu Siqing had successfully cured the Yu family's cultivators of the poison. However, she had spent quite a lot of time on this. Under the influence of this infectious poison, the Yu family's power had been greatly reduced. Many of their core forces and younger generation members had fallen. It could be said that after such a setback, the Yu family's power was no longer what it used to be. Without 20 years' time, they would not be able to recover. However, as a family of cultivators, the Yu family had experienced many storms and waves over the years. Even though this incident had dealt a blow to the Yu family, it would not damage their foundation. At a time like this, the role of an ally would naturally be revealed. After the Yu family had settled everything in the family, they sent people to the Lan family. The Lan family and the Yu family were in-laws and had always looked out for each other. Now that such a thing had happened to their family, they naturally needed to communicate with the Lan family. If someone were to take advantage of this time to harm the Yu clan, then they would need the Lan clan's help. After Bailey Hongzhuang heard this from Bewitching, she felt that it was very funny. The relationship between the Lan clan and the Yu clan was really close. However, she would destroy this so-called alliance one by one. Bailey Hongzhuang went directly to the Vermilion Bird Palace Hall to meditate. At this time, Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu were mostly meditating and cultivating. When Bailey Hongzhuang came to the field, she saw that Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu were still sitting in their old seats. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but smile as she slowly walked towards Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu. When some of the cultivators who were meditating saw Bailey Hongzhuang, their eyes were filled with astonishment. Bailey Hongzhuang hasn't come to the Vermilion Bird Palace Hall for a while. I didn't expect her to come today. Bailey Hongzhuang is really extraordinary after having this relationship with the young sect master. We ordinary disciples can only stay in the Vermilion Bird Palace Hall most of the time and can't leave the Tiangang sect. However, this Bailey Hongzhuang is not restricted at all. Chapter 2085. Bailey Hongzhuang, as a disciple of the Vermilion Bird Palace Hall, was usually the focus of the disciples. Bailey Hongzhuang only cultivated in the Vermilion Bird Palace Hall for a period of time, and then disappeared for 3 months. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure had never appeared in the cultivation field or the residence. Obviously, Bailey Hongzhuang was probably not in Tiangang sect at all. Because they had not seen Bailey Hongzhuang for a period of time, they also had not seen Bewitching. Bewitching, as the young master of Tiangang sect, was rarely seen. However, even if the number of times they saw him was small, they could still see him. In everyone's opinion, it was likely that the young sect master had taken Bailey Hongzhuang to other places to cultivate. The young sect master was so young, and his cultivation was so outstanding. Everyone could be sure that the young sect master must have his own way of cultivation. Otherwise, how could he improve his cultivation so quickly? For a long time, everyone had been very envious of the young sect master, who let them not have the noble identity of the young sect master, so they could only be envious. However, now Bailey Hongzhuang was able to cultivate with the young sect master, which made them too unconvinced. It was precisely because of this that when everyone saw Bailey Hongzhuang, they could not help but be envious. Bailey Hongzhuang naturally heard the words of the people talking, but she had already heard this kind of content when she first came to Tiangang sect. So at this moment, she did not feel that there was anything strange about it. People always liked to find excuses for their failures. Only in this way, they felt that failure was easier to accept. In this case, why should she expose all this? Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu were cultivating when they suddenly found that everyone was talking about Bailey Hongzhuang, and their eyes could not help but be filled with doubts. When they turned their heads, Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had already sat behind them. Hongzhuang, what brings you here today? Xia Jiqing's face was filled with an excited smile. Since the last time she saw Bailey Hongzhuang outside the resource hall, she hadn't seen Bailey Hongzhuang for a long time. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. I was busy before and didn't have time to come over. I'm free now. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu had some doubts in their hearts. They didn't understand what Bailey Hongzhuang was busy with. However, since Bailey Hongzhuang didn't take the initiative to talk about it, it must be because it wasn't suitable to talk about it. Therefore, they did not ask. It's good that you're not busy now. Xia Jiqing smiled brightly. Then will you be coming to the Vermilion Bird Palace Hall to cultivate? Bailey Hongzhuang thought for a moment and said, more or less. Right, we haven't gotten together for a long time. It's better to find everyone and get together, Bailey Hongzhuang said. Okay. Xia Jiqing's eyes lit up. Everyone has wanted to get together for a long time, but you haven't had time. Now that you're here, let's go find Gong Shaoqing and the others. Thinking of the time when they were in the assessment competition, they got along with each other every day. Since they came to Tiangang's sect, they didn't have the opportunity to get along with each other every day like before. However, they still worked hard to maintain this relationship. At least, their friendship would never change. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and nodded. Okay, then let's go. Chapter 2086. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others walk out of the arena like this, the cultivators present were also puzzled. Speaking of which, Bailey Hongzhuang had the best relationship with Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu in the Vermilion Bird Palace Hall, and everyone was very envious. After all, once Bailey Hongzhuang became the mistress of Tiangang's sect in the future, then the status of Xia Jiqing and the others, who were good friends of Bailey Hongzhuang, would naturally rise. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others left the Vermilion Bird Palace Hall and went to the Azure Dragon Palace Hall and the White Tiger Palace Hall. Not long after, everyone had gathered together. Yuan Xiaoman and the others couldn't help but show a happy smile after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang return to the team. Boss, you finally have time to come to us recently. Yuan Xiaoman walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's side with a smile. The last time Bailey Hongzhuang left, they could see that Bailey Hongzhuang was in a hurry. This time, Bailey Hongzhuang was obviously a lot more indifferent. It should be that things have been handled. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled at the crowd. Before, she was full of thoughts about the safety of her parents. Even the last time she got together with everyone, she didn't pay too much attention. Today, seeing everyone full of spirit and ruddy complexion, she was happy from the bottom of her heart. Everyone has been in Tiangang's sect for so long. Have you all adapted? Bailey Hongzhuang asked with a smile. Hongzhuang, you shouldn't ask us this question, but you should ask yourself. Dongfang Yu smiled as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. We've all stayed in Tiangang's sect longer than you, but you didn't stay for long before leaving. It took you so long to come back. As soon as these words came out, everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with the same feeling. Speaking of which, Bailey Hongzhuang was the one who stayed in Tiangang's sect the shortest among them. Bailey Hongzhuang came to a sudden realization. Thinking about it carefully, Dongfang Yu was right. She was indeed the person who stayed in Tiangang's sect the shortest. Bewitching is the young lord of Tiangang's sect. Hongzhuang is naturally used to staying here. Xia Jiqing joked. Smiles appeared on everyone's faces as they exchanged pleasantries. It had been a long time since they had gathered together like this. At this moment they felt exceptionally happy. Hongzhuang, you won't be leaving this time, right? Dongfang Yu asked curiously. He didn't know why Hongzhuang left Tiangang's sect, but he still hoped that Hongzhuang could cultivate well in Tiangang's sect. Bailey Hongzhuang thought for a moment and said, I won't be leaving anytime soon. Her parents were now in Tiangang's sect. Although the poison in their bodies had been detoxified, it would take some time for their bodies to completely recover. Therefore, during this time, she would not leave. Everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's thoughtful expression, and the light in their eyes changed a bit. They really didn't know what Bailey Hongzhuang was busy with during this time, and could only be secretly curious. It's good that you won't be leaving in a short time. Yuan Xiaoman smiled. Boss, the alchemist assessment will be held soon. I heard from Jiqing that Lu Qingyue is coming. As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes fell on Gong Shaoqing. Thinking back, when they left Kanglan College, Lu Qingyue vowed that she would definitely come. They believed that when the alchemist assessment came, they would definitely be able to see Lu Qingyue. Chapter 2087. Feeling the gazes of the crowd, Gong Xiaoqing's face was a bit unnatural. Xiaoqing, Qingyue is sincere to you. I think you shouldn't be stubborn. Just accept it. Dongfengyu's long eyebrows slanted. His pair of peach blossom eyes were full of banter and joke, like peach blossoms in March. He and Gong Xiaoqing had been together for such a long time. Naturally, he also hoped that Gong Xiaoqing could live well. Lu Qingyue had liked Gong Xiaoqing for so many years, and with Gong Xiaoqing's cold temperament, no one except Lu Qingyue could soften him. What's more, Lu Qingyue's appearance and ability were extremely outstanding. A genius alchemist with such an outstanding appearance. Once she came to Tiangang Zone, who knew how many disciples would chase after her? He had stayed in Tiangang Zone for so long, and naturally had a certain understanding of the situation in Tiangang Zone. Although the number of female disciples in Tiangang Zone was not small, the number of male disciples was more. Here, beautiful female disciples were the target of countless male disciples. Tiangang Zone could not be compared to Zhonglan School. Although the strength of Zhonglan School's cultivators was good, they could not be compared to the disciples of Tiangang Zone. Since coming here, he had lost his previous pride, because this was originally a place where geniuses gathered. At first, they thought they were geniuses in Zhonglan School, but after coming to Tiangang Zone, they understood what a real genius was. All the advantages he had in the past had long since disappeared without a trace. In such a situation, if Gong Xiaoqing did not treat Lu Qingyue well, he was really worried that Lu Qingyue would run away with someone else. He did not want to see his brother regret it. Listening to Dongfengyu's words, Xia Jiqing and the others could not help but laugh. Dongfengyu was really a clown. Obviously, it was for Gong Xiaoqing's good, but it had a different flavor. Gong Xiaoqing glanced at Dongfengyu, his iceberg face showing a look of disgust. Obviously, he did not want to pay attention to Dongfengyu. Hong Zhuang, I heard that the alchemist assessment this time seems to be different from the past. Gong Xiaoqing looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. He had heard other people vaguely talk about this before, but everyone did not know much about it. He felt that with Bailey Hongzhuang's position in Tiangang sect, this matter should be understood. As Gong Xiaoqing's voice fell, everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. They had also heard some rumors about this, but they did not know the specifics. This time, it was related to Lu Qingyue. They didn't want any problems to happen midway. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled when she saw how concerned everyone was. This matter won't affect Qingyue's return to the sect. As soon as these words came out, everyone was relieved. At least it did not have any effect on Lu Qingyue. Hong Zhuang, what's different about the alchemist assessment this time? Xia Jiqing asked. This time, before the alchemist assessment, the alchemists from our sect and the alchemists from the medicine sect will compete in an assessment competition. The problem is that in this assessment competition, the alchemist's assessment will be the same as before. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly explained. Alchemist competition? Everyone's faces were filled with doubt. They didn't understand what this alchemist competition was. Chapter 2088. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at everyone's faces and knew that they had never heard of the alchemist competition before. Thinking about it, the reason why very few people in Tiangang sect knew about this was because the sect master himself was very entangled with this matter. If possible, she believed that her grandfather would not want to hold this alchemist competition. However, the current situation was difficult to refuse. The possibility of changing this situation was not great. It could be seen from the attitude of Bewitching when he communicated with her before. The situation now is a bit complicated. This involves the matter between Tiangang sect and the medicine sect. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly said. The day of the alchemist competition was not far away. Since Tiangang sect had not come up with a way to deal with the medicine sect, this matter was imperative. She believed that in the next 2 days, everyone would know about this news. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang directly told the news to everyone. After learning about the real situation from Bailey Hongzhuang, everyone's faces changed a bit. No way. Yao Zhong's actions are too despicable. Xia Jiqing's face was full of disbelief. The medicine sect is also a big sect. If news of his actions were to spread, they would lose face. She could not understand. Since it was a big sect, if they used such underhanded means, it would have a certain impact on their reputation. Gong Xiaoqing shook his head. This matter is obviously a hidden loss for the sect master. Even in the end, the sect master will not tell this process to others. Because once other sects know, the sect master will also lose face. It is because of this that the medicine sect is so unscrupulous. They have already set a trap. Dongfeng, you followed. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Everyone was not stupid. As long as they thought about it carefully, they would be able to understand the key. No wonder we haven't heard about this recently. It turns out that the reason is here. Yuan Jixin suddenly realized. They had been in Tiangang sect for a long time. But until now, Tiangang sect had not held any activities. So everyone had always been very concerned about the upcoming alchemist competition. Moreover, this matter was related to Gong Xiaoqing and Lu Qingyue. Before this, they had already asked around. However, no definite results were obtained in the end. Hong Zhuang, what does the sect plan to do now? Gong Xiaoqing asked. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head helplessly. I don't know yet, but I think the disciples of the Alchemy Hall are worried about this matter. Until now the whole thing was still unclear. As for what to do in the future, they would have to wait for the sect to announce it to the public. However, after knowing that this matter would not affect Lu Qingyue's participation in the assessment, everyone was relieved. After talking for a while, everyone had dinner together. After drinking and chatting merrily for a while, everyone returned to their respective cultivation halls. On the way back, Bailey Hongzhuang was thinking about the alchemist competition. Until now, she still did not understand the alchemy skills of the Tiangang sect's alchemy hall disciples. Chapter 2089. Master, your alchemy skills are so powerful. If the Tiangang sect's alchemists can't deal with the medicine sect's alchemists, then you can go up. Xiao He sat on Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulder, her eyes filled with curiosity and excitement. From her point of view, her master was omnipotent. Up until now, she had always felt that her master's alchemy skills were extremely powerful. Although she had never seen an alchemist, she believed that her master's alchemy skills wouldn't be lacking. In these past few years, although her master had spent most of her energy on cultivation, she had the experience from her previous life, and the hard work she had put in this life. Her alchemy skills were far from what an ordinary person could compare to. That's right, master. You're also a member of the Tiangang sect. If the alchemist competition is held, you can also participate. Xiaobai nodded. He felt that Xiao Hei's words made sense. The Tiangang sect was now her master's home, and the sect master was her maternal grandfather. If anything happened to the Tiangang sect, her master naturally wouldn't sit idly by. Hearing Xiao He and Xiaobai's words, Bailey Hongzhuang's contemplation deepened. The most important thing now was to understand the abilities of the alchemists who would be participating. Since the medicine sect had purposely set up such a trap, they must be very confident in this alchemist competition. The alchemists they would send out would definitely be the most powerful alchemists in the medicine sect. Although she had a certain amount of confidence in her alchemy skills, the medicine sect had always nurtured alchemists. The abilities of their alchemists naturally couldn't be underestimated. Thus, she couldn't be certain. After Bailey Hongzhuang returned to her sleeping quarters, she entered the chaos ring. Previously, she didn't know anything about this. Now that she knew, she naturally had to make some preparations. In a moment, Bailey Hongzhuang began to cultivate her alchemy skills in the chaos ring. As the poison in Lan Yunxiao and Mu Lingbing's bodies was gradually dispelled, their complexions improved by the day. Now they no longer needed to stay in their rooms. Instead, they could walk out of their rooms to relax. Of course, they could only walk around outside the palace, and could not go anywhere else. There were no cultivators near the palace master's sleeping quarters, so they didn't need to worry about being noticed by others. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang had expected, she had already made a plan to confuse Yu Xiqing. However, After Yu Siqing helped the Yu family's cultivators quit gambling, she began to suspect Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao. She had always been an extremely cautious person. Even if there were just the slightest clue, she would associate it with a lot of things. Previously, Situ Yan had already asked him about Mu Lingbing's true identity, but she hadn't told him the truth. If Situ Yan was suspicious, it was not impossible for him to come here and take them away. The last thing Yu Siqing wanted was for Situ Yan's family to reunite. Therefore, she came to Tiangang sect after thinking of this possibility. She had to ask Situ Yan if this was really a trap set up by Situ Yan. Bailey Hongzhuang had already told Situ Yan about this matter. Thus, when Yu Siqing appeared in Tiangang sect's territory, Situ Yan was the first to welcome her. Chapter 2090. 2090. At the foot of Tiangang sect's mountain, Yu Siqing stood at the foot of the mountain with a complicated and suspicious expression. She had discussed this matter with the Yu family head, but he only felt that someone was taking revenge on the Yu family, and had nothing to do with Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao. In all these years, no one had come to find Lan Yunxiao and Lan Yunxiao. The majority of the Lan family was certain that Lan Yunxiao had fallen. Even those who believed that Lan Yunxiao was still alive felt that Lan Yunxiao hated the Lan family to the core, and would never return. Under these circumstances, no one in the Lan family was looking for Lan Yunxiao. As for Mu Lingbing, there were even fewer people looking for her. Mu Jin's had come once many years ago, but she had been poisoned by her. After all these years, Mu Jin's had never appeared again. She believed that Mu Jin's would never appear again. The only person she was suspicious of was Situ Yan. A few days ago, Situ Yan suddenly asked about this matter, which made her a little suspicious. If Situ Yan really believed that Mu Lingbing was his daughter, then it was very likely that he had rescued them to confirm it. However, what had happened this time didn't seem like Situ Yan's methods. With Situ Yan's strength, he would definitely choose to barge in if he wanted to rescue Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao. It was impossible for him to use explosives or poison. In the past, Situ Yan had always looked down on her despicable methods. But this time, he seemed to be giving her a taste of her own medicine. Although she felt that the possibility wasn't very high, she still wanted to confirm it. She felt that the other party hadn't appeared to take revenge on the Yu family, but to rescue Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao. Just as Yu Siqing was pondering, Situ Yan slowly appeared in front of her. Yu Siqing, what are you doing here? Situ Yan's voice was cold. Every time he saw Yu Siqing, he would recall what had happened in the past and feel extremely unhappy. Now that he knew the truth, he was even more unwilling to look at Yu Siqing. He even hated that he couldn't kill her. In the past, he had hoped to hear news about Mu Jin's from Yu Siqing. That was why he had allowed her to do as she pleased. But now, he no longer held any hope for her. This woman had the heart of a snake and scorpion. She hoped that she would never find Mu Jin's. He originally wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to kill Yu Siqing, but now was not the time. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang had said, Yu Siqing had done so many things, they would definitely not let her die so easily. Sensing Situ Yan's icy attitude, Yu Siqing did not mind. Over the years, she had already gotten used to it. Situ Yan, do you have anything to do with what happened to our Yu clan recently? Yu Siqing stared at Situ Yan, paying attention to every change in his expression. The Yu clan has committed so many unjust acts, they are doomed to destruction. You can only blame yourselves for this. Situ Yan could not be bothered with Yu Siqing at all. Now, every second he looked at Yu Siqing, he could not suppress the killing intent in his heart. If I were to make a move, I would definitely take your life first. With that, Situ Yan turned around and left. Just the words he left behind were enough to dispel Yu Siqing's suspicions. Chapter 2091. All these years, every time they met, it was always like this. Just like how Situ Yan didn't like her back then. Yu Siqing's heart was indignant. Every time she saw Situ Yan's disdainful expression, she wanted to torture him even more and see him suffer. Because all the pain she was going through was because of Situ Yan. So she wanted Situ Yan to suffer as much as she did. As long as she suffered, she couldn't let Situ Yan live happily. Her life was completely ruined because of Situ Yan. She couldn't understand how she couldn't compare to Mu Lingbing. Aside from Mu Lingbing's appearance, she couldn't compare to her in terms of status or ability, but she had stolen the only man she liked. All these years, no matter how she tried to please Situ Yan, he only felt disgust for her. That disgust from the bottom of his heart couldn't be concealed. Every time he saw her, it was as if a knife had been ruthlessly stabbed into his heart. With Situ Yan's status, he was a person of noble status. He was high up and enjoyed the attention of everyone. This man had almost never begged anyone. But in order to find out about Mu Jin's, Situ Yan had actually begged her. When she saw that Situ Yan was willing to give up everything for Mu Jin's, she felt even more unbalanced. Only by torturing Mu Jin's and the rest could she ease the pain in her heart. So she imprisoned Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao. Whenever she felt pain in her heart, she would torture Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao. Only in this way could she ease the pain in her heart. Looking at Situ Yan's departing figure, Yu Siqing felt that she should just let them continue to hate each other. At least, this was her relationship with Situ Yan. Without Mu Jin's, she was the person who had the deepest relationship with Situ Yan in this world. After Situ Yan left, Yu Siqing didn't continue to stay and turned to leave. Situ Yan's words had given her the answer. In reality, she felt the same way. If it was really Situ Yan who had rescued Lan Yunxiao and Lan Yunxiao, then Mu Lingbing would have told Situ Yan everything. Situ Yan would definitely kill her, and wouldn't have such an attitude now. Yu Siqing quietly relaxed a little. As long as it had nothing to do with Situ Yan, it was enough. Apart from Situ Yan, she could not think of anyone else who could have done this. It seemed that it was just as the patriarch had said. She was overthinking things. After Situ Yan returned to Tiangang sect, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen also greeted him. "Grandfather, did Yu Siqing suspect anything?" Bailey Hongzhuang was very worried. They hadn't figured out how to take action against the Lan family. Her parents still needed a long time to recover. Before that, this news must not be leaked out. Tian patted Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulder and said, "She no longer suspects anything. Don't worry." Although he had always thought that he hated Yu Siqing, after knowing her for so many years, he had a certain understanding of her personality. At the same time, he also knew what kind of answer would make Yu Siqing no longer suspicious. At Situ Yan's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen both breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, things didn't develop in a terrible direction. Chapter 2092. Di Beichen's lips curled into a smile. He had grown up with his master, and was full of admiration for his master's abilities. Although Yu Siqing was a difficult person to deal with his master's abilities, it wouldn't be difficult for him to deal with her. Only those who understood his master well would know how powerful he was. When Hong Zhuang was worried, he had already told Hong Zhuang about it. Yu Siqing has completely dispelled her misgivings. There's no need to worry about her thinking too much. Situ Yan slowly said, "I wonder if Lan Jingquang has any doubts about this matter?" Di Beichen furrowed his brows. Lan Jingquang was a very scheming person. Moreover, Lan Jingquang had always had an indescribable knot in his heart towards Lan Yunxiao all these years. Once he learned of Lan Yunxiao and Mu Lingbing's deaths, he would probably investigate again. Lan Jingquang definitely knew more about Lan Yunxiao than Yu Siqing. If he discovered something, it would be very troublesome. Since Yu Siqing already believes it, Lan Jingquang will definitely believe her as well. Situ Yan appeared very certain. Yu Siqing has always been a suspicious person. If even she has confirmed this answer, then even if Lan Jingquang has doubts in his heart, he will dispel them sooner or later. Moreover, after such a thing happened to the Yu family this time, Yu Manlan and Lan Qingyan left first. The Yu family is already hostile towards them. Even if Yu Siqing was close to them, she probably wouldn't be willing to explain anything to Lan Jingquang after such a thing happened. Hearing Situ Yan's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen exchanged glances and instantly understood. Yu Siqing was someone who held grudges. This could be seen from the various things she had done so far. Although Yu Manlan and Lan Qingyan's actions didn't cause Yu Siqing to make things difficult for them, she must have remembered it in her heart. They were almost certain that a crack had appeared in the relationship between Wuxia and Manlan. This was a good thing for them. It's best if their alliance breaks. That way, our revenge plan will be easier to carry out. Her ink-black phoenix eyes flashed with a cold light. Lan Jingquang and his family were only able to reach this stage because of Wuxia's help. Of course, she wasn't afraid of Wuxia. However, if Wuxia didn't attack when she attacked, Lan Jingquang and his family would feel even more fear. Even if their alliance hasn't broken, it's impossible for Wuxia to help them like before. Lan Jingquang and his family were living a peaceful life. They had probably already forgotten what had happened and felt that they no longer needed Wuxia's help. As long as things continued to develop like this, it was very likely that such a situation would occur. Bewitching's eyes flickered with a wise and far-sighted light. The current situation was really developing in a good direction. I also think that we don't need to care about the Yu clan and Lan clan situation for the time being. The most important thing now is for our parents to recover quickly. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Compared to her previous nervousness, she was much better now. Grandfather, is there a conclusion to the alchemist competition? Chapter 2093. When he heard Bailey Hongzhuang's question, Situ Yan's gaze slowly turned solemn, and his voice quietly lowered. I'm afraid that this matter is imperative. Once he had spoken, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching looked at each other, and their hearts filled with understanding. Although they had already guessed this possibility before, they still felt a little helpless when they confirmed the truth from Situ Yan's mouth. Maternal grandfather, are we confident that we can win this alchemist competition? Bailey Hongzhuang quickly asked. This matter concerns the reputation of the Tiangang sect, so they could only win and not lose. I've already sent someone to find out what the medicine sect's plans are. The most powerful alchemist they have sent is a level 6 alchemist. Master, our sect has a level 6 alchemist as well. Si Tuyen gently nodded. That's right. If the other party is a level 6 alchemist, then we might be able to put up a fight. However, I have a feeling that the medicine sect has come prepared this time, and is determined to win. As the sect master, he could see many things very accurately. The alchemist competition was also a huge gamble for the medicine sect. In fact, the risk involved was even greater than theirs. This was because the medicine sect was the one who had instigated this matter. If they were to fail, not only would the medicine sect bear infamy, they would also be ridiculed by the masses. After all, the medicine sect was famous for their pill refinement skills. If they were to lose to them in this matter, the medicine sect would truly lose face. The medicine sect's ability to summon alchemists would also be greatly reduced in the future. Hence, the medicine sect's sect master must have put in a lot of effort this time, and believed that they could not possibly lose. That was why he had come. A light of understanding flashed in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. The medicine sect was indeed taking a greater risk in this matter than they were. Bailey Hongzhuang did not think that this was a big deal, because the instigator of this matter was the medicine sect. Bearing the risk was something that they must do. However, this was not good news for them. The meaning of Si Tuyen's words was very obvious. Although on the surface, it seemed that the most powerful alchemist on the other side was a level 6 alchemist, it was very likely that they had some means to win. It was just that they didn't know yet. What they were most worried about was that the other party would suddenly use a trump card and catch them off guard. Bewitching frowned. He was also worried about this. Since things have developed to this point, we can only deal with whatever comes our way. Si Tuyen did not say much about this issue. Since things had already developed to this point, there was no point in worrying. The only way they could deal with this was to get the disciple with the highest alchemy skills in the alchemy hall to accept the challenge. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Situ Yan's expression and knew that Situ Yan was also extremely depressed about this matter. But now Tiangang sect really did not have a better way. It was impossible to ask for foreign aid. Tiangang sect could not afford to lose this face. However, the other party was a 6th grade alchemist, so she could deal with him. Grandfather, my mother said that she would see you tomorrow. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Once she said this, Situ Yan's expression changed and his eyes filled with excitement. Your mother is willing to see me? Chapter 2094. The next day, the sun was high in the sky, and there were no clouds in sight. This kind of weather was just like the mood of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, bright and clear. Ever since they found out about Mu Lingbing's thoughts, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' worries had completely dissipated. However, Si Tuyan still felt nervous and conflicted. Ever since he had rescued Mu Lingbing and her father, he hadn't seen Mu Lingbing again. After Bailey Hongzhuang greeted Mu Lingbing, she went to invite Si Tuyan. Inside the room, Mu Lingbing's expression was also a little nervous. Up until now, she had never seen her father. Anyone who met their father for the first time would be very nervous. Lan Yunxiao felt Mu Lingbing's nervousness and immediately held her hand, his voice gentle and full of strength. Bing, her father-in-law is a very good person. You don't have to worry. From Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching's words, they had a good understanding of Si Tuyan. Not only was Si Tuyan outstanding, he was also a righteous gentleman. All these years, Si Tuyan had been searching for Mu Jin's. Just from this, they could tell that Si Tuyan was devoted and sincere. Ever since he found out about Mu Lingbing's identity, not only had he gone to the Yu family to ask Yu Siqing, he had also gone to rescue them. This alone showed how much he cared about Mu Lingbing. He believed that family was the most precious relationship in the world. Even if they had never met, there would still be an indescribable feeling when they met. Mu Lingbing looked up at Lan Yunxiao. He had always been her pillar of support. Actually, she wasn't worried. She was just a little nervous, thinking about what to say when they met later. At this moment, the sound of footsteps approached and stopped outside the room. Mu Lingbing immediately sat up straight, her gaze focused on the door. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Si Tuyan beside her, her clear eyes twinkling with a smile. Grandfather, let's go in. Si Tuyan nodded slightly and opened the door. As Si Tuyan slowly walked into the room, Mu Lingbing and Si Tuyan's gazes landed on each other. Si Tuyan's eyes trembled. He had seen Mu Lingbing before, but now that he saw her awake, he felt that her silhouette was even more familiar. He could see Mu Jinsei's shadow in Mu Lingbing, and at the same time, he could vaguely see some similarities with himself. Although Hongzhuang was somewhat similar to Mu Lingbing, there were still many areas where she resembled Lan Yunxiao. The Mu Lingbing in front of him was clearly a combination of him and Mu Jinsei. Excitement spread uncontrollably in Si Tuyan's heart. His hands couldn't help but tremble. A kind of excitement surged in his chest, making him almost have the urge to cry. Mu Lingbing had tried to guess what Si Tuyan looked like, but when she saw him for herself, she realized that she was very similar to Si Tuyan in many ways. His elegance, his steadiness, his perseverance, and his indifference were like the wind. When he stood next to her master, they were a perfect match. No, they were fated to be a couple from birth. She had always thought that she was an orphan who had been saved and raised by her master. Chapter 2095. She had never imagined that her master would really be her mother. She remembered that ever since she was a child, countless people had tried to woo her master, but her master had always preferred to gaze at the sky alone. Ever since she had grown up, she had understood that this was her master's longing. There had always been someone in her master's heart, but whenever she had asked her master had always been unwilling to tell her. She had watched as her master wiped her tears silently, as pain and hatred flashed in her master's eyes. From then on, she had wanted to find the person who had let her master down. Her master was such a good person. What right did that person have to let her down? But now, this person was standing right in front of her. Mu Lingbing had the urge to cry. That's right, such a person is truly worthy of master. Compared to this person, all those who had tried to woo her master in the past were so unworthy. This person was her father. All these years, she had wanted to find him, to ask him why he had abandoned her after giving birth to her. Mu Lingbing and Si Tuyan looked at each other, but neither of them spoke. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could sense the shock and agitation in Mu Lingbing and Si Tuyan's hearts, so they remained silent and did not disturb them. After a moment, Si Tuyan finally spoke. his lips still trembling. Ling Bing. All these years. I'm sorry. A single word of sorry contained too much guilt. When Si Tian had been in high spirits, he had always wanted to make his beloved and his child happy, to become the happiest person in the world. But because of him, his beloved and his daughter had been plunged into so much pain for so many years. I'm sorry for not taking care of you when you were young. I'm sorry for making you suffer so much. I'm sorry for finding you so late. This apology caused the tears that had accumulated in Mu Lingbing's eyes to flow freely. Too many grievances, too many questions, too much sadness poured out in this moment along with her tears. But looking at the man in front of her with red eyes, her heart still softened. This was her father. The father she had wanted to find all these years. Father, Mu Lingbing called out softly. She had thought that when she saw her father in the future, she would interrogate him properly. Since he had abandoned her back then, she would never acknowledge him again. However, the moment she saw Si Tian and heard his apology, all of the unwillingness and grievances in her heart had disappeared. Hearing the call of his dreams, Si Tian's heart trembled. He raised his hand and quietly wiped away the tears at the corner of his eyes. Mu Lingbing threw herself into Si Tian's arms and sobbed uncontrollably. Everything that had happened in the past few years had already caused her heart to break down, but she had always been unwilling to show it. At this moment, she could no longer hold it in. Si Tian patted Mu Lingbing's back gently, his voice low and bitter. I've wronged you all these years. It's my fault. If he hadn't been so stupid back then, and hadn't been deceived by Wuxia, then none of this would have happened. The three most important women in his life had suffered too much because of him. He was so guilty and upset. Mu Lingbing shook her head and said in a choked voice, Father, I know you didn't want this to happen either. Chapter 2096. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes reddened at the sight, but her lips couldn't help but curve into a joyful smile. Although this scene had happened too late, at least it had appeared. Bewitching hugged Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulders. His Hongzhuang would always be the best. If it weren't for Hongzhuang, none of this would have been so easy. Lan Yunxiao's handsome face revealed a sincere smile. Although Mu Lingbing was crying, he knew that she was laughing in her heart. Perhaps all the suffering they had endured before was for this reunion. Because of Wuxia, they had missed each other for too many years. But at least they had met again, and all the misunderstandings had completely disappeared. After a long while, Si Tian and Mu Lingbing finally calmed down, and smiles appeared on their faces. They had already learned a lot about the situation on both sides from Bailey Hongzhuang, so the two of them had never mentioned anything about it. Mother, do you know about grandmother's situation? Bailey Hongzhuang thought for a moment, and took the lead to ask. She knew that this was what her grandfather wanted to know the most. As expected, when Bailey Hongzhuang said this, Si Tian's hands clenched into fists. His calm face was tinged with nervousness and apprehension. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's question, Mu Lingbing slowly said, I also learned about this matter from Wuxia. I always thought that I was an orphan, and was raised by my master since I was a child. The last time father went to look for Wuxia seemed to have been greatly stimulated, and told me everything. She said that my mother was my master. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of Bailey Hongzhuang changed. This answer was beyond their expectations, but when they thought about it carefully, it was all within their expectations. With Mu Jin's loyalty, she definitely wouldn't abandon Mu Lingbing like this. Thus, it was normal for her to raise Mu Lingbing in the name of master and disciple. Your master is the palace master of Sun Moon Palace? Si Tian looked at Mu Lingbing with burning eyes. This answer was very important to him. Mu Lingbing nodded slightly. Yes, I grew up with master since I was a child. Master said that she had picked me up when she was out, and felt that we were fated to meet. So she brought me back to Sun Moon Palace. Mother, don't you think you look a lot like Grandma? Bailey Hongzhuang's clear eyes were filled with curiosity and suspicion. Although she had never seen her grandmother, since her grandfather could see that she and her grandmother were very similar, then her mother and grandmother must be even more similar. I thought so too when I was young, But my master said that after two people spend a long time together, they will naturally become very similar, just like a husband and wife. Moreover, no one in Sun Moon Palace mentioned anything about this, so I didn't give it much thought, Mu Lingbing said slowly. Hearing this, the faces of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others showed a look of understanding. Mu Jin's explanation had a certain degree of truth, but if they were too similar, then it wasn't just because they had spent a long time together. Then after your accident, did Jins go to find you? Si Tuyen asked. With Mu Jin's feelings for Mu Lingbing, she wouldn't have left Mu Lingbing in the lurch after finding out that something had happened to her. However, she hadn't appeared until now. That was too strange. Chapter 2097. Seeing the change in Mu Lingbing's expression, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' hearts sank. Could it be that something had happened that they didn't know about? Lan Yunxiao's expression was also heavy. Although they had been tortured by Wuxia in every possible way, they had still learned a lot from her. Actually, ever since Yun Xiao and I were imprisoned by Wuxia, we didn't know much about the outside world. However, I heard from Wuxia that Master went to find me, but was poisoned by Wuxia. Since then, I have never heard Wuxia mention Master again. It wasn't until the last time Father went to find Wuxia that she told me that my master was actually my mother. Mu Lingbing turned to Si Tuyen, her eyes filled with worry. Father, will anything happen to Mother? This answer exceeded the expectations of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, but it wasn't strange. They had always hoped that Mu Jin's would be fine, but luck was useless in the end. The thing they didn't want to happen the most still happened. Since Mu Lingbing was Mu Jin's daughter, Mu Jin's definitely wouldn't leave her alone if something happened to her. Wuxia had imprisoned Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao in order to make Mu Jin's and Si Tuyen suffer. If Mu Jin's went to find Wuxia would definitely use the opportunity to humiliate her, and even use some sinister methods. Mother, you mean that when grandmother went to save you, she was poisoned by Wuxia and never appeared again? Bailey Hongzhuang's heart sank. There were only two possibilities for her not appearing for so many years. The first was that her injuries were too severe, and she couldn't leave Sun Moon Palace. The second was that she had died. Mu Lingbing nodded. I heard Wuxia say so. That's right, Wuxia did say so. Lan Yunxiao confirmed the answer. They had always remembered these important things clearly. Si Tuyen's hands trembled. He was very worried that they couldn't find Mu Jin's figure for so many years. He didn't expect that something like this would happen in the end. Compared to these two possibilities, it was obvious that the possibility of her dying was higher. If Mu Jin's had fallen, he didn't even dare to think about such a possibility. Mu Lingbing saw that Si Tuyen was silent, and understood the impact this matter had on Si Tuyen. At that moment, everyone's hearts were heavy. Since that's the case, I'll make a trip to the Sun Moon Palace to understand the situation. Si Tuyen clenched his fists. Things had already developed to this point. Even if he was unwilling to face it, it was useless. Although the possibility of Mu Jin's being alive was not high, as long as there was a sliver of hope, she would go and take a look. As Si Tuyen's voice fell, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching looked at each other and nodded. In fact, their thoughts were the same as Si Tuyen's. They had to find out more. If Mu Jin's was still alive, but was unable to appear because of Wuxia's poison, then they could start thinking of a way. If he was really gone, then they should at least pay their respects. Father, I'll go too, Mu Lingbing hurriedly said. Sun Moon Palace doesn't allow outsiders to enter. Mother has always misunderstood you. If you go, I'm afraid it will be difficult for you to enter. Chapter 2098. Mother, although the poison in your body has been cured, your condition is still not good enough. Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful eyes flickered with worry. Given the current situation, it might not be a good idea to act immediately. Master, the alchemist competition is just around the corner. The people from the medicine sect will be here very soon. If you leave now, I'm afraid that it won't be very convenient. Originally, with Si Tuyen's speed, they would be able to make it to the Sun Moon Palace in time. However, If they were to bring Mu Lingbing along, they would not make it in time. Everyone looked at each other. They all hoped that they could get to the Sun Moon Palace as soon as possible. However, the current situation was not a good time to leave. The alchemist competition will begin in 10 days. Why don't we leave together after the competition is over? Bailey Hongzhuang suggested after some thought. This was the best idea at the moment. It was impossible to stop Mu Lingbing from going. With her by Mu Lingbing's side, there were many things that could be done without worry. Furthermore, if Mu Jin's was still alive, it would be a pleasant surprise for them to go together as a family. When they heard Bailey Hongzhuang's suggestion, Mu Jin's and Situ Yan could not resist the urge to go to the Sun Moon Palace. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's words were reasonable. All right, then we'll leave after the alchemist competition is over. Situ Yan's voice was gloomy and contained a hint of anger. It was likely that he was even more displeased with the medicine sect because of this matter. As the sect master of the Tiangang sect, he was already extremely displeased when the medicine sect had suddenly made a fool of him. Now, because of the medicine sect's matter, he had been delayed from finding Mu Jin's. This made him extremely angry. During this time, I will help father and mother recuperate. Bailey Hongzhuang spoke up. Although 10 days was a short period of time, Lan Yunxiao and Mu Jin's bodies would recover better if they recuperated for a period of time. It was not easy to make up for the deficit of more than 10 years. It was a good thing that they had been very powerful in the past, so they had been able to persevere. Now that the poison had been completely removed, and their bodies were gradually recovering, they still needed to continue recuperating. Situ Yan nodded, and his gaze landed on Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao. Take care of yourselves. Don't be anxious. We will. Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao smiled faintly, but their words were still somewhat fake. If possible, they really wanted to reach Sun Moon Palace immediately. If Mu Jinsei had really died because of her, that was something that Mu Lingbing would not be able to accept. For so many years, she had not known anything, and would often complain to Mu Jinsei that her parents did not want her. Thinking about it, at that time, Mu Jinsei must have been very sad when she heard her words. It was a pity that she didn't know anything. In the following days, Bailey Hongzhuang helped Mu Jin's and Lan Yunxiao recuperate while practicing alchemy. The time for the medicine sect to arrive was drawing closer and closer. As a precaution, she must work hard to improve her pill refining skills. No matter what, she does not wish for Tiangang sect to lose to the medicine sect in this matter. Lan Yunxiao and Mu Lingbing only knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was very busy. They could tell from Bailey Hongzhuang's exhausted expression, but they didn't disturb Bailey Hongzhuang. Chapter 2099. The three beasts continued to take care of Lan Yunxiao and Mu Lingbing as usual. During this period of time, Lan Yunxiao and Mu Lingbing doted on them because of their coquettish and adorable behavior. Mu Lingbing felt that it was a good thing to have three lively contracted beasts by Bailey Hongzhuang's side when they weren't around. To tell the truth, it was hard to feel lonely with these three lively little fellows by her side. Baisher, what has Hongzhuang been busy with these days? I don't see her at all. Mu Lingbing stroked Baisher's head, her voice gentle and full of concern. The alchemist competition is about to begin. Master is working hard on her alchemy skills. Baisher narrowed its eyes as if enjoying Mu Lingbing's touch. Besides medicine, Hongzhuang also knows alchemy? Mu Lingbing's eyes flashed with astonishment. She had no idea about this before. Baisher proudly raised its head. Master knows everything. Her alchemy skills are also first-rate. Lan Yunxiao's eyes lit up when he saw Baisher's smug look. Ever since he reunited with Hongzhuang, his daughter's excellence had completely exceeded his expectations. Hongzhuang's medical skills were on par with Yuxiqing's at such a young age. This was already inconceivable. He never thought that Hongzhuang would also dabble in alchemy. She really had a wide range of interests. As expected of his daughter, time passed very quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was already the day before the alchemist competition. The alchemists from the medicine sect had arrived at Tiangang sect a day earlier, so that they could be in better condition for the competition tomorrow. The disciples of Tiangang sect had already heard about the alchemist competition. Hence, they were filled with revulsion towards the alchemists from the medicine sect. The people from the medicine sect are really shameless. They use such despicable methods and still act so sanctimonious. How disgusting. In the past, I had a pretty good impression of the medicine sect. Now I don't have a good impression of them at all. They're really annoying. Look at the way they walk. It's as if they think they're so great just because they're alchemists. The disciples of Tiangang's sect looked at the disciples of the medicine sect with dissatisfaction. However, due to their reputation, they still had to welcome the disciples of the medicine sect. They were just unwilling to do so. Bailey Hongzhuang, Xia Jiqing, and the rest stood together as they sized up the disciples of the medicine sect. There were quite a few people from the medicine sect this time. There were more than 10 disciples and 2 elders. These disciples were dressed in the medicine sect's uniform robes, and the space between their brows exuded an innate sense of pride. Even when they looked at others, they looked down their noses at them. Hongzhuang, why do these alchemists from the medicine sect look so annoying? They're so great? Xia Jiqing frowned. She originally did not have a good impression of the disciples of the medicine sect. Now that she saw them like this, she felt even more disgusted. Alchemists have a noble status and have a sense of superiority. Usually the alchemists from our sect are also very arrogant. However, because we're all fellow disciples of the same sect, you've never felt it. Bailey Hongzhuang had come into contact with a few alchemists so far. Most of these alchemists had a sense of arrogance in their bones and felt that they were superior to others because they were alchemists. Chapter 2100. If arrogance was a common failing of alchemists, then this provocation was the hostility of the medicine sect's disciples towards them. Therefore, Bailey Hongzhuang did not have a good impression of the medicine sect's disciples either. Presumably, the medicine sect's disciples also knew that their visit to the Tiangang sect today would be detestable, so they might as well be arrogant to the end. Ever since the great elder had been confined, he had not come out for a long time. Everything in the Tiangang sect had been handed over to the second elder, Xiaoingzi, to handle. Xiaoingzi stood in front of the medicine sect's elders with a polite and graceful smile on his face. Elder Du, Elder Yao, you're here. Even though the entire Tiangang sect did not wish for the medicine sect's disciples to come here, they still had to put on an act. The medicine sect's elders, Du Feiyang and Yao Xinghuai, smiled joyfully as well. Elder Qiao, long time no see. We hope that you can take care of us during our visit to your sect. You're being too distant with each other. Since we're here for an exchange, we should keep in touch with each other. Hearing Xiaoingzi's words, the smiles on Du Feiyang and Yao Xinghuai's faces froze for a moment, but they quickly recovered. Xiaoingzi's exchange was truly difficult for them to accept. However, since they were already here, this matter was imperative, and there was no room for negotiation. Elder Qiao is right, we should keep in touch with each other. Elders, you've been running around for so long and must be tired. We've already prepared a place for you to rest. Why don't you take a rest first? Xiaoingzi's face was full of smiles, and his words were impartial. Not only did he express Tiangang sect's friendliness, but he also expressed Tiangang sect's dissatisfaction. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Xiaoingzi's ability to handle matters and felt a wave of admiration in her heart. It seemed that Xiaoingzi had no problem taking over the Great Elder's position. She had thought that dealing with the Great Elder would be a difficult task, but she did not expect the matter to be resolved so easily. It was beyond her expectations. Thank you, Sect Master and Elder Qiao. Du Feiyang smiled. Xiaoingzi led Du Feiyang and Yao Xinghuai in front, while the medicine sect's disciples followed behind them as they slowly made their way to their residence. Senior brother, the disciple from Tiangang sect is very dissatisfied with us. Gu Fengyan frowned, his eyes filled with dissatisfaction and anger. Shangguan Yufeng, who was addressed as senior brother, appeared to be very calm. They can be dissatisfied as much as they want. With our status, do we need to care about the gazes of a group of cultivators? Shangguan Yufeng's brows were filled with arrogance. He didn't even bother to look at the Heavenly Dipper sect's disciple. He did not care about a group of cultivators at all. As an alchemist, As long as his alchemy skills were outstanding enough, what kind of cultivator couldn't he recruit? This group of people was just envious and jealous of them, that's all. Gu Fengyan, who was originally very dissatisfied, also nodded after hearing Shangguan Yufeng's words. Senior brother is right. I don't need to care about those guys at all. Let's make them unhappy today. When the alchemist competition starts tomorrow, they will be even more unhappy. Shangguan Yufeng smiled and replied, that's right. They're just a bunch of ordinary cultivators, and they're not worthy of our attention. Chapter 2101. As Qiaoingzi led the medicine sect away, the disciples of the Tiangang sect dispersed. Although they had only met once, everyone instinctively felt a sense of disgust towards the medicine sect's alchemists. The alchemists of the Tiangang sect naturally felt this way even more. The other party's disdainful attitude was simply infuriating. However, due to this superficial friendliness, they could not make it too obvious. However, even if they did not make it obvious, the medicine sect's disciples were very obvious. Let's go back as well. Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at Xia Jiqing and the others beside her. Now that the medicine sect's disciples had returned to their lodgings, there was no need for them to continue to stay here. Xia Jiqing nodded. Tomorrow is the day of the alchemist competition. However, I can see that the medicine sect's alchemists have not come with good intentions. I don't know if the medicine sect's alchemists will be able to handle them. Gong Shaoqing and the others frowned. Although they were not alchemists, as members of the Tiangang sect, they still supported the Tiangang sect 100% in this matter. Usually I feel that the alchemists of our sect are already arrogant. Compared to the alchemists of the medicine sect, the disciples of the alchemy hall are simply approachable. The corners of Dong Fengyu's lips curled up slightly. His smile was full of ridicule and banter. As soon as he said this, Yuan Xiaoman and the others nodded in agreement. They felt the same way. Most of the medicine sect's disciples are alchemists, but there are also some cultivators. I can't imagine how the medicine sect's cultivators would feel if they were to face such a group of arrogant fellows all day long. Yuan Jixin was secretly speechless. If it were him, even if these fellows were noble alchemists, he would not hesitate to give them a punch. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile, but a dark light surged in the depths of her eyes. The attitude of the medicine sect's cultivators was simply deliberately provocative. It seems that the medicine sect did not even bother to maintain their friendliness on the surface. She could not understand why the medicine sect would do such a thing. Compared to other sects that respected strength, the medicine sect could be said to be unique and focused on developing pill refining techniques. Because there was no competition, the medicine sect's position was naturally very important. It was normal for the medicine sect to want to grow stronger. However, if the medicine sect's relationship with the Tiangang sect became rigid because of this, it would not be a wise move. She had a faint premonition that in this alchemist competition, it would either be the medicine sect slapping the Tiangang sect's face, or the Tiangang sect slapping the medicine sect's face. Regardless of the situation, the relationship between the two sides could no longer be as respectful as before. Honestly speaking, she also felt disgusted and impatient with the medicine sect's disciples' attitude. It was said that guests should follow the host's wishes, but this group of fellows seemed to regard themselves as the most amazing existence and look down on everyone else. The disciples of Tiangang Zong dispersed, and Xia Jiqing and the others also returned to their respective halls. Bailey Hongzhuang, on the other hand, returned to the sovereign's chamber. She felt that the situation today was a little different from what she had expected. She was afraid that something else had happened. She also wanted to go back and understand the thoughts of her grandfather and Bewitching. When Bailey Hongzhuang returned to her sleeping quarters, she saw Lan Yunxiao and Mu Lingbing admiring the flowers. When they saw Bailey Hongzhuang, they both smiled at the same time. Chapter 2102. Bailey Hongzhuang quickly walked over to Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao's side, with a lotus-like smile on her elegant face. I did. Second elder already brought them to their residence, so I came back. How do you feel? Lan Yunxiao looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. When he first saw Bailey Hongzhuang, he clearly noticed that there was a bit of displeasure between her eyebrows. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged. Not really. What's not good about it? Mu Lingbing raised her brows. She didn't know much about the alchemist competition, but she had a feeling that it wasn't a good thing. Mother should understand the attitude of an alchemist, Bailey Hongzhuang said with a smile. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Lan Yunxiao and Mu Lingbing immediately understood. No matter where an alchemist came from, they all had the same arrogant attitude. So that's how it is. Mu Lingbing chuckled. Alchemists rarely have good attitudes. In short, they think they're extraordinary unless they meet someone stronger than them. Bailey Hongzhuang was full of smiles. In fact, it wasn't just alchemists. The entire Xinjiang continent had such a rule. Anyone with strength couldn't help but have some pride in their bones. Only when they met someone stronger would they reveal a humble appearance. Father, mother, have you seen grandfather and Beichen? Bailey Hongzhuang looked around, but didn't see Di Beichen or Situ Yan. Your grandfather called Beichen away just now. They should be discussing something in the room. Mother, I'll go take a look too. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and walked into the room. She also had some things to discuss. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang leave, Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao exchanged glances. They felt that things weren't that simple. Did something happen? Mu Lingbing asked worriedly. It should be because of the alchemist competition. It's fine. Lan Yunxiao patted Mu Lingbing's shoulder. Mu Lingbing had been worried about a lot of things recently. Since Situ Yan and the others did not tell them about this, they naturally did not want them to worry. When Bailey Hongzhuang walked into the room, Situ Yan and Di Beichen were discussing the assessment. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang appear, the two of them were not surprised and immediately let Bailey Hongzhuang in. Hongzhuang, are you here to talk about the alchemist competition? Di Beichen smiled gently when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang gently nodded. I've just seen the medicine sect's medicine masters. However, their attitudes weren't very good. That's not strange. This time, our Tiangang sect and the medicine sect have pretty much fallen out. Di Beichen chuckled. Bailey Hongzhuang was astonished when she heard this. She looked at Di Beichen in confusion and asked, What do you mean? Master was already very dissatisfied with the medicine sect's sect master's actions. Furthermore, this matter had delayed Master's search for Master's wife. As you can imagine, Master was communicating with the medicine sect's sect master. However, the medicine sect's sect master is also a person who refuses to admit his wrongdoings. Thus, the conflict has intensified. Following Di Beichen's explanation, Bailey Hongzhuang finally understood. So that's how it is. Chapter 2103. Situ Yan's expression was a little gloomy, and one could still see his displeasure. This time, the medicine sect's sect master had made a fool out of him, and he was already very unhappy about it. He, Situ Yan, has been in the Jianghu for many years, and almost no one has dared to treat him this way. Now that this has happened at such a critical juncture, his heart was filled with extreme displeasure. If this had been any other day, he would have been able to swallow this anger. However, he had waited for decades and finally received news of Mu Jin's. Now he was being delayed because of the medicine sect's sect master. Because of this, he could no longer hold back his anger and directly exploded. Since the medicine sect's sect master had done such a thing, it proves that he does not see Situ Yan as a friend. Since that was the case, there was no need for him to hold back. Hence, he had shed all pretense of cordiality with the medicine sect. Regardless of the final outcome of the alchemist competition, he would expose the medicine sect's actions to the public. You are heartless and I am unrighteous. No one can blame the other. Bailey Hongzhuang understood everything after understanding Situ Yan's actions. It seems that the medicine sect was fighting with their backs against the wall this time. The medicine sect's sect master clearly did not expect Situ Yan to play his cards so unpredictably. Furthermore, Situ Yan's words did not leave him any leeway at all. He has known Situ Yan for quite some time, but he has never seen Situ Yan act like this. However, since Situ Yan had already spoken, he could not back down from the stage. He would definitely send the medicine sect's alchemists and would not change his mind. Hence, This alchemist competition could be said to be a fight with their backs against the wall. Once the Tiangang sect wins, the medicine sect's reputation would be completely tarnished, and their powers would be mocked. Even if the medicine sect wins, their reputation would be ruined. Hence, the medicine sect's disciples were exceptionally arrogant and looked down on everything. Hong Zhuang, what do you think of the medicine sect's alchemists this time? Bewitching turned his gaze towards Bailey Hongzhuang. It was not appropriate for him and his master to go out on a day like this. Hence, only Bailey Hongzhuang had seen the situation before. High and mighty, full of confidence. I think they have a card up their sleeves and are very disdainful of our cultivators. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged her shoulders. She was not trying to be unfair in her words, but this was the side of the medicine sect's medicine masters. Hearing this, Bewitching's expression changed slightly. There was a hint of displeasure in the depths of his eyes. The disciples of the medicine sect have always been known for their arrogance. The disciples who have come this time are all outstanding disciples of the medicine sect, so this kind of behavior is not surprising at all. Over the years, many sects have been unwilling to interact with the medicine sect. This was largely due to their attitude towards the medicine sect. However, it's obvious that the medicine sect is completely unaware of this. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were full of ridicule. Alchemists are all like this, as if they can't display their strength if they aren't arrogant. However, after careful observation, the disciples of the medicine sect all revere a senior brother by the name of Shangguan Yufeng as their leader. His pill refining skills should be the most outstanding. She had been paying attention to the interactions between the medicine sect's disciples, so she had some understanding of what was going on. Situ Yen nodded. The reason why the medicine sect is so certain of their victory this time is because of Shangguan Yufeng. This Shangguan Yufeng is already a grade 6 alchemist at such a young age. His talent is truly great. Chapter 2104. Currently, there was only one disciple in Tiangang sect who was a grade 6 alchemist. As for who would win, they were not sure. However, now that things had come to this, they could only wait and see how they perform tomorrow. Then we will have to see which grade 6 pill they are refining. Even if they are both grade 6 alchemists, they will still be able to determine the winner based on the type of pill they are refining. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes shone with wisdom. She believed that her grandfather's information would not be wrong. Shangguan Yufeng was definitely a grade 6 alchemist. However, it was uncertain whether he would be able to refine low-grade, middle-grade or high-grade pills. There are not many types of grade 6 pills. We plan to let Chu Qianni refine the Ice Spirit pill. The Ice Spirit pill was a spiritual medicine used to treat cultivators when they were injured. It could extend the lifespan of a cultivator. Bewitching's gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. As an alchemist, Bailey Hongzhuang was more knowledgeable than them in this aspect. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang pondered and said, "The Ice Spirit pill is a middle-grade pill among grade 6 pills. I'm just worried that Shangguan Yufeng will refine a pill of a higher grade than the Ice Spirit pill. For this matter, before Shangguan Yufeng refined the pill tomorrow, they could only make wild guesses. However, since the medicine sect was so confident, they naturally had to be more careful. I have already asked Chu Qianni, although he has been promoted to a grade 6 alchemist for some time. The highest grade of grade 6 pill he has refined so far is the Ice Spirit pill. If he wants to raise the grade of the pill, Chu Qianni himself does not have enough confidence." Bewitching's expression revealed a sense of helplessness. There was nothing he could do about this matter. If Chu Qianni had never refined a higher grade pill, the chances of failure would be very high. In comparison, even if the grade of the pill refined by Chu Qianni was not as high as Shangguan Yufeng's, it was still much better than failing. I understand. Then let's let Chu Qianni refine the Ice Spirit pill. Bailey Hongzhuang naturally understood the problem as well. They could only choose a conservative approach. "Grandfather, let me participate in the alchemist competition tomorrow." Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Sitian seriously, her voice sincere and firm. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Sitian was surprised. "Are you sure you want to participate?" He knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was also an alchemist, But the participants of this alchemist competition were all extremely powerful. At the very least, they had to be 5th-grade alchemists. If one did not reach such a level, participating in this alchemist competition would be a complete loss of face. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Grandfather, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's confident gaze, Tian thought for a moment and then nodded. Since you already have a plan in mind, then let's do it. Tian smiled kindly. He knew his granddaughter's character very well. If Hongzhuang did not have a certain level of confidence, she would not say such words. Seeing that Tian had agreed, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile became brighter. Thank you, grandfather. I will prepare well. After saying this, Bailey Hongzhuang did not stay any longer. She immediately returned to her room to prepare for the alchemist competition tomorrow. Chapter 2105. The next day, the sky was clear and the sun shone brightly. Bailey Hongzhuang had left the house early in the morning. The alchemist competition was about to begin this morning, and everyone was heading towards the competition stage at the back of the pill refinement hall. When Bailey Hongzhuang walked out of the house, she saw Bewitching and Situ Yin in the courtyard. Lan Yunxiao and Mu Lingbing were also in the courtyard, and the 4 of them were chatting. Astonishment surfaced in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes when she saw this. She had thought that Bewitching and Situ Yin would not be watching the alchemist competition today. After all, the medicine sect master had not come to watch the competition. If Bewitching and Situ Yin had gone, then it would have been too important. Grandfather Beichen, are you going as well? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Beichen smiled and quickly walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. The medicine sect master arrived this morning, so master and I are going as well. Astonishment surfaced in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes when she heard Beichen's words. She never thought that the medicine sect master would personally come at this time. It seemed that the medicine sect master was also very concerned about this matter. Hongzhuang, I heard from Beichen that you're going to participate in today's alchemist competition as well? A gentle smile appeared on Mu Lingbing's face when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang. While Mu Lingbing was speaking, Lan Yunxiao was also looking at Bailey Hongzhuang with astonishment and affection. Previously, they had heard from the 3 beasties that Bailey Hongzhuang was an alchemist. However, they felt that since Bailey Hongzhuang was so accomplished in the field of medicine, she must have only dabbled in the field of alchemy. However, they had actually heard that Bailey Hongzhuang was going to participate in this year's alchemist competition. This was too shocking. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly with a warm and charming smile. Yes, today's alchemist competition is very important to the sect, so I want to participate as well. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao looked at each other in astonishment at Bailey Hongzhuang's reply. They had been with Bailey Hongzhuang for a long time, so they knew Bailey Hongzhuang's personality very well. Since Bailey Hongzhuang said so, it proved that she had a certain level of confidence in her alchemy skills. Lan Yunxiao couldn't help sighing with emotion. Their daughter was so outstanding that it exceeded their expectations. Hongzhuang, you're going to participate in the alchemist competition today. We really want to take a look. Mu Lingbing's voice was filled with sorrow and disappointment. Ever since she was young, they had never paid attention to Bailey Hongzhuang's growth. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang was going to participate in the alchemist competition, they couldn't watch because of their status. It was truly regretful. Just as Mu Lingbing said this, Lan Yunxiao gave her a meaningful look. Seeing Lan Yunxiao's gaze, Mu Lingbing was startled. She immediately reacted and smiled awkwardly to hide her embarrassment. She really shouldn't have said such a thing. In this situation, they couldn't appear in front of others. If she said this now, wouldn't it make things difficult for Hongzhuang and the others? Situ Yin and Bailey Hongzhuang naturally noticed Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao's expressions. Chapter 2106. Moreover, Bailey Hongzhuang was also participating in the alchemist competition, so it was normal for them to want to see her. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly had an idea. Father, mother, why don't I help you disguise yourselves? That way, you can also watch the alchemist competition. Bailey Hongzhuang had a certain amount of confidence in her disguise. She believed that as long as it wasn't someone with a high enough cultivation, they wouldn't be able to notice their disguise. Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao were just sighing to themselves. They understood that with their current situation, it wasn't suitable for them to appear in front of others. Once this news spread, it would be abnormally troublesome. However, when they heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words, their eyes couldn't help but brighten, revealing traces of astonishment and disbelief. Is this really possible? Mu Lingbing couldn't help but ask. Even her tone had a hint of excitement. Bailey Hongzhuang turned her eyes to Situ Yan. This matter still needed Situ Yan's approval. Master, Hongzhuang's disguise is extremely outstanding. I believe that ordinary people wouldn't be able to tell. Bewitching naturally understood Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao's thoughts. If they could go together, he believed that they would be extremely happy. Situ Yan naturally hoped that this method would succeed. After all, he had never properly taken care of Mu Lingbing. Now that there was something that Mu Lingbing wanted to do, he naturally couldn't bear to object. Hongzhuang, help them disguise themselves first. If it's effective, then we'll go together. Situ Yan said with a smile. After receiving Situ Yan's affirmation, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but smile at each other. Father, mother, then I'll help you disguise yourselves now. Bailey Hongzhuang pulled Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao into a nearby room. It was already late, so she had to quickly help them disguise themselves. Afterwards, they would have to participate in the alchemist competition. Luckily, Grandpa and Bewitching were still here. As long as they were not there, the competition would not start. Bailey Hongzhuang was very skilled in the art of disguise. When she was helping Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao change their appearances, her speed was very fast. She had already thought of what she wanted them to look like. During this process, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but think of Mo Yunjue. She had not seen Mo Yunjue since she had brought her parents back from the Yu clan. However, according to Bewitching's information, Mo Yunjue had helped them leave Yutian City without any danger. At that time, she had promised Mo Yunjue that she would teach them the art of disguise, but until now, she hadn't had the chance. She didn't know when the next time she would meet Mo Yunjue would be. However, Bailey Hongzhuang secretly decided that no matter what, she would definitely teach the art of disguise to Mo Yunjue. From the time they had met until now, she had never helped Mo Yunjue. Instead, it was Mo Yunjue who had always helped her. Now that she finally had something to help Mo Yunjue, she naturally wouldn't be stingy. However, in the previous situation, she really didn't have the time to teach them. Now that her parents' health had recovered, she had more time to spare. Chapter 2107. 2017. After everything was settled, she could try to contact Mo Yunjue. Bailey Hongzhuang's disguise technique was extremely proficient, but when Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao saw how Bailey Hongzhuang had changed their appearances, their eyes were filled with shock. They had a certain understanding of the disguise techniques of the Shengxian continent. Although it had a certain effect, they were able to quickly identify it with their eyesight. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's disguise technique made it impossible for them to identify her. It was truly too shocking. In their line of sight, they were clearly two cultivators in their 20s. Their appearances were extremely ordinary and didn't seem out of place. They wouldn't be noticed even if they stood in a crowd. Most importantly, they couldn't find any flaws in their disguise. If they hadn't seen Bailey Hongzhuang change their appearances with their own eyes, they would have thought that they had changed their faces. Hongzhuang, your disguise technique is too amazing. Mu Lingbing's eyes widened as they sparkled with joy and excitement. She felt that Hongzhuang was becoming more and more mystical. Her disguise technique was simply unheard of. Lan Yunxiao didn't speak, but his eyes were also filled with amazement. Up until now, Hongzhuang's performance had been stunning. Bailey Hongzhuang was full of smiles as she said, "Father, mother, let's go out and let grandfather take a look. If there are no problems, we can set off." Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao nodded and walked out of the room together. When Bewitching saw Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao's disguise, his lips couldn't help but curve up a little. He knew that there was no problem with Hong Zhuang's disguise technique. When Situ Yin saw this scene, he couldn't help but be startled for a moment. This was the first time he had seen Bailey Hongzhuang use her disguise technique. He didn't expect it to be so effective. Originally, he had only wanted to make Mu Lingbing happy. As long as they put on a disguise, even if the other party saw through their disguise, as long as they didn't know their true identities, it didn't matter. However, he didn't expect the disguise technique to be so superb. In that case, they didn't have to worry at all. Beichen, go get 2 sets of disciple robes, Situ Yin said slowly. As soon as he said this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 3 smiled. As long as Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao wore Tiangang sect's disciple robes, they wouldn't be noticed in the crowd. After everything was prepared, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 3 set off for the Pill Refinement Hall. Di Beichen had already thought of arrangements for Lan Yunxiao and Mu Lingbing, so he planned to have them stay with him. As the young sect master of Tiangang sect, he had to sit in the audience for today's alchemist competition, so Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao could stand behind him. However, this was a little inconvenient for them. Mu Lingbing and Lan Yunxiao naturally didn't care about this. They were already very happy to be able to walk around the other parts of Tiangang sect and personally see Bailey Hongzhuang participate in the alchemist competition. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but smile as she watched Lan Yunxiao and Lan Yunxiao walk along the path of Tiangang sect. She was clearly in an exceptionally good mood. Noticing this, Bailey Hongzhuang remembered that her parents had been imprisoned all these years and didn't have the chance to visit other places. Chapter 2108. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest arrived at the venue of the Pill Refinery Hall, the area was already packed with people. When the crowd noticed Situ Yan's appearance, all the disciples bowed to him. Greetings, sect master. All the Tiangang sect disciples retreated and opened up a path for him. Situ Yan's face was less benevolent and amiable, but more dignified and steady. He slowly walked to the spectator stand at the side. The medicine sect's sect master, Gu Weisheng, was already waiting at the spectator stand. When he saw that Situ Yan was late, his expression turned ugly. Tiangang sect was Situ Yan's home ground, but Situ Yan was late at this time. It was obvious that he was not welcomed. However, there were so many disciples present. No matter how unhappy he was, he could only pretend to be happy. Situ Yan did not come late on purpose. He was delayed because of Lan Yunxiao's disguise. However, he did not care what Gu Weisheng thought at all. Hong Zhuang will make a move first. After Di Beichen appeared in the crowd with Situ Yan, he could not be with Bailey Hongzhuang because he had to follow Situ Yan to the spectator stand. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, her figure quietly disappearing into the crowd. Sect Master Situ, you're here. Gu Weisheng stood up with a big smile on his face. Situ Yan also had a smile on his face, but it did not reach his eyes. Sect Master Gu, sorry to keep you waiting. Sect Master Situ is too polite. I came early. Situ Yan and Gu Weisheng bowed to each other and sat down together. Sect Master Situ, young Sect Master D is really a young talent. He's becoming more and more outstanding. Gu Weisheng praised. At the same time, Di Beichen also bowed to Gu Weisheng. Sect Master Gu is too kind. Gu Weisheng shook his head. I'm speaking from the bottom of my heart. I'm not as lucky as Sect Master Situ to find such a good successor. Di Beichen had a humble and polite smile on his face. He was not happy with Gu Weisheng's praise. This time, the Tiangang sect and the medicine sect had already fallen out with each other. Everything that Gu Weisheng had said now was just for show. Bailey Hongzhuang quickly arrived at the location of the Vermilion Bird Palace Hall disciples. The disciples of the Heavenly Dipper sect had always been orderly, and the disciples of each palace hall stood in different places. Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when they saw Bailey Hongzhuang. Hongzhuang, you finally came. We thought you wouldn't come. Xia Jiqing quickly walked to the side of Bailey Hongzhuang, looking a bit anxious. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. I was delayed by something in the morning, so I came a little late. Fortunately, I didn't miss it. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, the doubts in the depths of Xia Jiqing's eyes became more intense. These days, She felt that Hong Zhuang had been busy with something. Even this morning, she was delayed by something, but they couldn't think of what it could be. It was really strange. Bai Junyu knew that Xia Jiqing was a person who couldn't hide her words. He was afraid that she couldn't help but ask Bailey Hongzhuang what she was busy with. No matter what, it's fine as long as you're not late. Bai Junyu smiled. Chapter 2109. Jiqing Junyu, I'm going to see the palace lord first. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes fell on Qin Ai, who was standing in front of the team. Today was the day of the Tiangang sect and the medicine sect's alchemist exchange. Therefore, the 4 palace lords, who were rarely seen, also appeared together today. After the alchemist competition began, she would also participate, so she had to greet the palace lord first. Okay, Hongzhuang, go ahead. Bai Junyu said with a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly and walked to the front of the team. After Bailey Hongzhuang left, Xia Jiqing breathed a sigh of relief. Junyu, fortunately you reminded me just now. Otherwise I would have asked a question I shouldn't have asked. She felt helpless about her curiosity. When she encountered something she didn't understand, she couldn't help but want to ask. When she saw Bailey Hongzhuang twice before, she couldn't help but want to ask, but she had been holding back the thoughts in her heart. Today, when she saw that Hongzhuang was late, she was anxious and couldn't control herself. Looking at Xia Jiqing's helpless appearance, the smile on Bai Junyu's face was soft and warm. Jiqing, I know you have no malice, but your temper is too anxious. However, Hongzhuang is different from us. She is not an ordinary person, and the things she encounters are naturally different from us. If it was something that could be said, Hongzhuang would have told us long ago. Since she hasn't said it yet, it proves that it is not suitable to tell us. If we ask, wouldn't it make things difficult for Hongzhuang? Bai Junyu's voice was gentle. He and Jiqing had been together for so long, and he knew her temperament very well. She had such an impetuous personality. She would say whatever she thought, and by the time she reacted, it was often too late. Therefore, as her man, he could only remind her again and again. They had always been the beneficiaries of their friendship with Hongzhuang. On the contrary, they had never helped Hongzhuang. If they were to cause trouble for Hongzhuang under such circumstances, it would be too inappropriate. In fact, Dongfang Yu and the others had already reached a tacit understanding. Everyone had their own secrets. As long as it didn't affect their friendship, there was no need to talk about these secrets. Xia Jiqing's eyes flashed with understanding and annoyance. I know, I won't do it again. Now she was really speechless about her own personality. Compared to Xia Jiqing's depression, Bailey Hongzhuang did not care about what had happened before. She slowly walked towards where Qin Ai was. Many disciples had come from every branch hall today. Apart from a few disciples who were in seclusion and not suitable to appear, almost all the disciples who had time to come had come. Therefore, if Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to walk from the back to the front, it would take some time without causing any disturbances. When the disciples of the Vermilion Bird Palace Hall saw that Bailey Hongzhuang didn't stay in her original position after arriving, and instead kept walking forward, they couldn't help but frown. Now that everyone is in formation, why is Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly walking over? Who knows? Every time she appears, it seems that she must do something different. From the looks of it, she seems to be going to look for the palace master. Chapter 2110. Many disciples' gazes fell upon Bailey Hongzhuang. As the distance between Bailey Hongzhuang and Qin Ai grew closer, everyone was certain that Bailey Hongzhuang had gone to look for Qin Ai. In this regard, many disciples felt that it was unfair. They also wanted to find a chance to get closer to the palace master. However, with the palace master's status, they had no chance at all. However, Bailey Hongzhuang was obviously a new disciple, but she enjoyed all sorts of privileges. This was really dissatisfying. Now, Bailey Hongzhuang had brazenly gone to look for the palace master under such an important situation. How could they accept this? In reality, Bailey Hongzhuang had not shown any special traits ever since she had entered Tiangang sect. The only special trait was the various privileges that Bailey Hongzhuang enjoyed. The other disciples had to stay in Vermilion Bird Palace Hall, but Bailey Hongzhuang had gone missing. She had clearly returned to Tiangang sect, but no one had seen her in Vermilion Bird Palace Hall. Could it be that all of this was because of her relationship with the young sect master? If she wanted to become the young sect master's wife, she had to at least prove her abilities. At least, Han Xiling had always shown his prowess in the past. As it could not be compared to him, everyone could still accept it. However, Bailey Hongzhuang had not shown anything until now. Bailey Hongzhuang walked to Qin Ai's side amidst the crowd's discussions. She could clearly hear the cultivators' unbalanced discussions. Of course, many cultivators had said it intentionally for her to hear. She also knew that ever since she had arrived at Tiangang sect, not only had she not shown her serious cultivation side, on the contrary, in the eyes of the other disciples, she had nothing at all. She was only trying to get into Bewitching's good books. This was not her initial intention. However, ever since she had entered Tiangang sect, there were many things that she had no choice but to do. As for other matters, she simply could not care less. Palace Master Qin. Bailey Hongzhuang bowed to Qin Ai. She had been back for more than a month, but she had not seen Qin Ai. It was really inappropriate. When Qin Ai saw that it was Bailey Hongzhuang, a smile also appeared on her face. It's Hongzhuang. Why are you here now? Is something the matter? Qin Ai's attitude was gentle and kind. As the granddaughter of the sect leader, Bailey Hongzhuang was naturally his junior. Moreover, he knew that the sect master seemed to be busy with something during this period of time. It was hard to see Bailey Hongzhuang in Bewitching. As the hall master, he also knew what kind of things he should not interfere in. The sect master had only arranged for Bailey Hongzhuang to stay in the Vermilion Bird Palace Hall for show. Therefore, he had given Bailey Hongzhuang absolute freedom. When the disciples present saw Qin Ai's attitude towards Bailey Hongzhuang, they could not help but be taken aback. When had they ever seen the hall master so amiable? Even though hall master Qin Ai usually had a smiling face, she was still very dignified in front of the disciples. This was the first time they had seen such a hall master. Hall master, the sect leader has allowed me to participate in this alchemist competition. I'm here to report this. Bailey Hongzhuang was modest and courteous. No matter what, she now belonged to the Vermilion Bird Palace Hall. Naturally, she had to report this matter to the hall master. Chapter 21:11. The shock in Qin Ai's eyes disappeared in the blink of an eye. She then regained her calm and tranquility. Since the sect leader has agreed, you can participate in the alchemist competition once it begins. However, have you prepared the pill furnace and medicinal herbs needed to refine the pills? This alchemist competition was not held within the sect. It was an exchange between the two sects. Of course, to put it nicely, it was called an exchange. To put it bluntly, it was called a competition. Every disciple who participated in this competition represented the sect's reputation. If they made a fool of themselves, they would not only lose their own reputation, but also the sect's reputation. As one of the 4 great palace masters, he had a good understanding of the inside story of this alchemist competition. Once this alchemist competition was over, it was inevitable that they would shed all pretenses of cordiality. By then, every organization would understand the situation of this alchemist competition. Therefore, there could not be any mistakes. Palace Master, don't worry. I've already prepared everything. Her delicate and flawless face was filled with confidence. When she had first found out about the alchemist competition, Bailey Hongzhuang had already made her preparations. Even though the medicinal herbs needed to refine a grade 6 pill were rather expensive, she had already prepared them with Bewitching's help. When Qin Ai saw Bailey Hongzhuang's confident look, the worry in her eyes slowly dissipated. As the sect leader's maternal granddaughter, Bailey Hongzhuang's performance had always been rather good. Since the sect leader had agreed to let her participate, she must have a certain level of confidence. Even if she could not achieve great results, she would not make any mistakes. Perhaps the sect leader wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to let Bailey Hongzhuang have a good experience. Stand behind me and wait for a moment. The alchemists who are going to participate in the alchemist assessment have yet to arrive. Once they arrive, the alchemist competition will begin. Qin Ai's eyes sparkled with admiration and kindness. Based on Bailey Hongzhuang's current status, she had always abided by the rules, and was not the least bit arrogant or rude. Just this point alone was enough to make people admire her. Yes, Palace Master. Bailey Hongzhuang stood quietly behind Qin Ai. Under such circumstances, they could not afford to make any mistakes. Very soon, Third Elder had already brought in the new cultivators, who were participating in the alchemist test. If it were in the past, what was about to begin now would be the alchemist test. However, before this alchemist test, there was still an alchemist competition. If the Tiangang sect were to lose the alchemist competition, it was very likely that most of the alchemists who were preparing to enter the Tiangang sect would leave with the medicine sect. A group of young and immature faces slowly appeared in everyone's line of sight. Every time there was a new disciple, it would always attract the attention of the disciples. Look, that woman in a hibiscus dress is so beautiful. That's right. If she can pass the alchemist test, then she will be our junior sister in the future. I want to chase after her. Voices of joy and excitement rang out one after another. Everyone's eyes fell on the group of fresh faces. Bailey Hongzhuang was also sizing up the new arrivals. As expected, she saw Lu Qinyue in the crowd. Lu Qinyue was still the same as before. She was dressed in a hibiscus dress, and her looks were outstanding. Her temperament was gentle, and it was hard to forget. Chapter 21:12. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled happily. It seemed that after such a long time, Lu Qinyue's heart had never changed. If Lu Qinyue could become a disciple of Tiangang sect, then Gong Xiaoqing could no longer miss it. She felt that the environment of Tiangang sect was more suitable for Lu Qinyue and Gong Xiaoqing to get along. At the same time, Dongfang Yu and Gong Xiaoqing also noticed the existence of Lu Qinyue. In fact, Lu Qinyue standing in the crowd was an extremely eye-catching existence. Xiaoqing, Qinyue really came. Dongfang Yu's eyebrows fluttered as he patted Gong Xiaoqing's shoulder with an excited expression. Gong Xiaoqing's eyes also fell on Lu Qinyue. Although he had already expected Lu Qinyue to come, seeing her with his own eyes still made him feel a little different. Xiaoqing, you also saw the expressions of the surrounding male disciples. Qinyue came specifically for you. If you still refuse her at this time, you will regret it in the future. Before Qinyue is tempted by other men, you have to seize the opportunity. Dongfang Yu put away his joking look and became a little more serious. He was used to playing around. Except for Bailey Hongzhuang, a woman who made him want to be serious, there was no other woman who could move his heart. And Gong Xiaoqing had always had a cold temper. If it weren't for Lu Qinyue, he was really worried that Gong Xiaoqing would live like this for the rest of his life. Listening to Dongfang Yu's words, Gong Xiaoqing didn't make any response. He just looked at Lu Qinyue with a complicated expression. Junyu, look, Qinyue really came. Xia Jiqing couldn't help but be excited after seeing Lu Qinyue. They had been in Tiangang sect for so long, and didn't know many friends. Now that they saw an old friend they knew before, naturally they couldn't help but be excited. Bai Junyu smiled. In the future, our team will have one more member. After Lu Qinyue and the others arrived, everyone had already arrived. Only then did Si Tuyen say, "Since everyone is here, let the alchemist competition begin." As soon as these words came out, everyone present was shocked. The main event was coming. A smile appeared on Gu Weisheng's face. Then let us witness the elegance of an alchemist refining pills. Pharmacists, go on stage. Second Elder Qiaoying's voice quickly rang out, clearly passing into everyone's ears. Following Qiaoying's words, the alchemists from Tiangang sect and medicine sect, who were participating in the competition, walked up to the high platform one after another. Hongzhuang, you should go too. Qin Ai turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang beside her, and said with a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, cupped her hands in salute, and walked towards the high platform. Under the crowd's gaze, the medicine sect and Tiangang sect's pill masters walked up to the tournament stage from both sides of the high platform. Shengguan Yufeng was walking at the front of the medicine sect's disciples. His handsome face was filled with arrogance and disregard. There was no other expression on his face. Among the alchemists of the Tiangang sect, Chu Qianyi walked at the forefront, looking valiant and heroic. The alchemists of both teams were equally matched. No one was giving way to the other. However, when Bailey Hongzhuang's figure also appeared in the team of Tiangang sect's alchemists, it caused an uproar among the disciples of Tiangang sect. Chapter 21:13. Isn't Bailey Hongzhuang a cultivator? Why did she run up there? Even if she is trying to please the crowd, she shouldn't run up at such an important time. Isn't this throwing away the face of our entire Tiangang sect? At this moment, even if the young sect master protects her, I'm afraid she will inevitably be punished. The disciples of Tiangang sect looked at Bailey Hongzhuang angrily. This alchemist competition was related to their honor and disgrace, but Bailey Hongzhuang ran up to interfere. How could they not be angry? Even if Bailey Hongzhuang's privileges made them somewhat dissatisfied, they were just talking about it. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's current actions were a bit too much. After Xia Jiqing and the others saw Bailey Hongzhuang also walk up the high platform, a happy smile appeared on their faces. As Bailey Hongzhuang's friends, they knew Bailey Hongzhuang's alchemy skills very well. Although the scale of this alchemist competition was very large, they were also full of confidence in Bailey Hongzhuang. However, before they had time to be happy, the discussion of the disciples of Tiangang sect had been completely drowned out by their voices. What do you know? Hongzhuang's alchemy skills are also very powerful. Seeing everyone scolding Bailey Hongzhuang, Xia Jiqing couldn't help but refute. However, compared to the cursing of the crowd, the voices of Xia Jiqing and the others were too soft, and were soon completely drowned out. Other than Qin Ai, the expressions of the other three hall masters changed a little when they saw this scene. Hall Master Qin, why did you let Bailey Hongzhuang go up? Azure Dragon Hall Master Yan Kaiqing's voice was a bit anxious. At this time, it was not allowed to make a mistake. Could it be that this was instructed by the sect master? Gu Jingqing knew the identity of Bailey Hongzhuang, and understood that with Qin Ai's temperament, he would never allow such an accident to happen. Qin Ai nodded. This matter was agreed by the sect master. Bailey Hongzhuang herself is an alchemist. You don't have to worry. After receiving Qin Ai's reply, the three palace masters finally relaxed. Fortunately, they did not cause any trouble. Although the four palace masters already knew all of this, the discussion of the crowd of disciples was too loud. Almost everyone already knew about this episode. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's arrival, Chu Qianyi and the other Tiangang sect's alchemists' expressions became extremely strange. They didn't know that Bailey Hongzhuang was going to participate in this alchemist competition. However, now Bailey Hongzhuang's, they could only treat it to Bailey Hongzhuang. However, Bailey Hongzhuang was not a disciple of the pill refining hall. At this time, if she was not delirious, she should not have run to the high platform. Shengguan Yufeng and the other medicine sect's alchemists naturally noticed all this. Because of Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance, it caused such a big disturbance. It seemed that Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't an alchemist. Shengguan Yufeng and the others looked at the indifferent Bailey Hongzhuang and thought it was very funny. Could this woman be a member of their medicine sect? At this time, she deliberately came to slap Tiangang sect's face. Senior brother, this woman is not an alchemist, but she volunteered to run up. Is her brain squashed by a door? Gu Fengyan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, and his expression was full of ridicule. Chapter 21:14. Shengguan Yufeng sized up Bailey Hongzhuang. Although all the Tiangang sect disciples couldn't help but curse Bailey Hongzhuang, and he could see a trace of unnaturalness on Chu Qianyi's and the rest's faces. However, Bailey Hongzhuang was still able to be calm and collected under everyone's criticism, questioning and confusion. This wasn't something an ordinary person could do. Moreover, Bailey Hongzhuang's temperament was extraordinary and definitely not an ordinary person. Compared to the Tiangang sect's alchemists, He felt that Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't simple at all. Don't jump to conclusions. Today is an important day. Even if this girl has guts, she wouldn't dare to run amok at this time. Thinking about it, her appearance should have been instructed. But the other disciples don't know about it. Perhaps, this girl is Tiangang sect's trump card, and has been hiding it from us. Shangguan Yufeng's voice was heavy. He didn't like to have such unexpected things happen. Hearing Shangguan Yufeng's words, Gu Fengyin couldn't help but be stunned. His face was filled with astonishment. Eldest senior brother, aren't you thinking too much? So many people were against this woman. If this woman was really the trump card of Tiangang sect, then this trump card of theirs was hidden too deeply, right? They actually managed to deceive all the Tiangang sect disciples? Gu Fengyin couldn't believe it. If Tiangang sect hid this trump card and wanted to catch them off guard, then it was a very normal thing. However, it was impossible for all the Tiangang sect disciples to not know about the existence of this trump card. Lan Yunxiao and Mu Lingbing, who were standing behind Bewitching, saw all the disciples attacking Bailey Hongzhuang, and their eyes darkened. They had never thought that such a situation would occur. These disciples had gone too far in bullying others. Bewitching could naturally feel Lan Yunxiao and Mu Lingbing's anger and indignation. He immediately said, "Nothing will happen." Hearing Bewitching's words, although the dissatisfaction in Lan Yunxiao and Mu Lingbing's hearts hadn't dissipated, they calmed down a little. No matter what happened, it wasn't suitable for them to take action with their current status. The medicine sect's sect master, Gu Weisheng, was full of smiles. Sect master Situ, could it be that your Tiangang sect's alchemists are inferior? So you sent a cultivator who isn't an alchemist up on stage? If that's the case, I can let one less disciple from our sect go up on stage. That would be fairer. Gu's words and didn't lower's voice. Everyone heard him clearly. And the Tiangang sect's disciples' hearts. The more the Tiangang sect's disciples is, the more their hearts, the more S's, the better it it. His TS. Was. Sect Master Gu, you're thinking too much. This Bailey Hongzhuang was originally arranged by us. It's just that she's both an alchemist and a cultivator. So many disciples don't know. Situ Yan's voice was louder than Gu Weisheng's. It was a warning to all the Tiangang sect disciples. Following Situ Yan's words, the disciples who were dissatisfied with Bailey Hongzhuang all shut their mouths and didn't dare to say anything else. Chapter 21:15. Now that they knew the truth, the Tiangang sect disciples could only feel their faces burning up. Previously, they had thought that Bailey Hongzhuang's actions had embarrassed the Tiangang sect. However, from the looks of it now, they were the ones who had truly embarrassed the Tiangang sect. No matter what, they should not have caused an uproar and made a joke out of themselves in front of the medicine sect disciples. Gu Fengyin was stunned for a moment after hearing Situ Yan's words. He admired Shangguan Yufeng even more. Every time, eldest senior brother saw things more accurately than him. Eldest senior brother was actually able to discover something that even the Tiangang sect disciples did not know about. He was truly amazing. The Alchemy Hall disciples who were initially dissatisfied with Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance also heaved a sigh of relief. Since this was an order from the sect master, Bailey Hongzhuang's pill refiner must be very good. Next, I will announce the rules of this alchemist competition. Xiaoying's voice rang out very quickly. The area around the high platform regained its silence. Everyone's gaze fell upon Xiaoying's as they listened carefully to the rules of the competition. The rules of this year's alchemist competition are very simple. The pill refiners will refine the highest grade pill within their abilities within 6 hours. The pill refiner with the highest grade will win. If the pills refined are of the same grade, the pill refiner with the higher grade will win. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded after hearing the rules of the competition. Just as Xiaoying's had said, these were the simplest rules of the competition. There were almost no requirements. It was just a competition to see who could refine the best pill. However, this method was also the best way to show the quality of the pill refiner's skills. Next, the alchemist competition will officially begin. Following Xiaoying's command, Bailey Hongzhuang, and the rest quickly stood in their positions. The area of the high platform was very large, and it was in the shape of a staircase. There were 5 pill refiners in each row. This way, everyone could have a panoramic view of the pill refiners refining. Bailey Hongzhuang stood on the left side of the 4th floor. This was the position she had chosen randomly, after everyone had chosen their own position. The 3rd floor was the most eye-catching row. Shangguan Yufeng of the Medicine Sect and Chu Qini of the Tiangang Sect were standing in the middle of the row, adjacent to each other. Although there were many alchemists participating in the alchemist competition, everyone knew that the competition was basically a battle between Shangguan Yufeng and Chu Qini. The winner would definitely be one of these two. The table was already prepared, but the alchemy furnace was prepared by the alchemist himself. Every alchemist had their own alchemy furnace that they were used to. What's more, when an alchemist's alchemy skills reached such a level, they would definitely use a high-quality alchemy furnace to achieve the best results. It was not an easy task to take out 2 identical high-quality pill furnaces at the same time. In other words, this pill furnace was also another kind of competition between alchemists. When Shangguan Yufeng took out his alchemy furnace, everyone's eyes lit up. His alchemy furnace was completely black, and there were dragons and phoenixes circling around it. It was very majestic. Although many cultivators did not understand alchemy furnaces, they could distinguish the quality of an alchemy furnace at a glance. Chapter 21:16. It seemed that this time, the medicine sect had really put in a lot of effort in order to achieve good results in this alchemist competition. This black gold dragon phoenix furnace was a very famous alchemy furnace. Sect Master Gu was actually willing to take it out for Shangguan Yufeng to refine pills. Fortunately, they had already expected this, so they also gave the alchemy furnace in the sect to Chu Qini to use. At this time, they would never let the disciples of the sect lose, because of the hard conditions. The next moment, Chu Qini took out a golden alchemy furnace. This alchemy furnace was golden in color, and there were fish circling around it. It was very lifelike. After Shangguan Yufeng saw the alchemy furnace that Chu Qini took out, his eyes could not help but change a little. 9 revolving spirit fish furnace. He did not expect that Tiangang sect would also take out an alchemy furnace for Chu Qini to use. It seemed that this time, it was impossible to beat Chu Qini in terms of alchemy furnace. However, the winner of this alchemist competition could only be him. The participating alchemists took out their alchemy furnaces, and Bailey Hongzhuang also took out a red alchemy furnace. This alchemy furnace was the one that she had obtained in the ruins of Yulinfeng. Although she did not know the name of this alchemy furnace, according to her judgment, this alchemy furnace was not ordinary. The quality of this alchemy furnace was also very high, and it was very easy for her to refine pills. At least, with this alchemy furnace, she no longer had to worry about the possibility of an explosion. On the contrary, this alchemy furnace could help her improve the quality and success rate of her pills. After Bailey Hongzhuang took out this alchemy furnace, Xia Jiqing's eyes could not help but show a touch of excitement. It seemed that this time, Hongzhuang was going to show her power. After Bailey Hongzhuang took out this red alchemy furnace, Situ Yan and Gu Weisheng's eyes changed slightly and fell on the alchemy furnace. Sect Master Situ, I didn't know that Tiangang sect had a fire phoenix golden pill furnace. Your trump card is hidden deep. As the sect master of the medicine sect, Gu Weisheng naturally had an extraordinary understanding of alchemy furnaces. The moment Bailey Hongzhuang took out this pill furnace, he had already judged that this pill furnace was an alchemist's weapon, the fire phoenix gold pill furnace. This cauldron was not inferior to the cauldrons used by Chu Qini and Shangguan Yufeng. In fact, its quality was even higher. However, the fire phoenix golden core furnace had not appeared in the world for many years. No one knew where it was. Who would have thought that it would appear in the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang? Si Tian was also a little surprised when he saw that Bailey Hongzhuang was using the fire phoenix gold pill furnace. He had never seen Bailey Hongzhuang refine pills before, so he didn't know much about the pill furnace she used. He did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to have such a treasure. However, he naturally would not show his surprise in front of Gu Weisheng. Instead, he revealed a meaningful smile. Sect Master Gu has spent so much effort to do so many things this time. Naturally, I have to be prepared. Hearing Citian's words, Gu Weisheng's eyes could not help but become gloomy. Citian was really an old fox. He actually hid so many things. The Fire Phoenix gold pill furnace had appeared, and he had actually hidden this news. Chapter 21:17. Bewitching, who was sitting beside Situ Yan, naturally heard the conversation between Situ Yan and Gu Weisheng. He was secretly surprised. Gu Weisheng didn't know, but he was very clear that this alchemy furnace belonged to Hongzhuang herself. Previously, he also didn't recognize that Hongzhuang's alchemy furnace was actually the famous Fire Phoenix gold alchemy furnace. Very quickly, the alchemist competition began. Lu Qingyue stood in the group. Her gaze didn't care about Chu Qianyi and Shengguan Yufeng. Instead, it fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. After not seeing her for such a long time, Bailey Hongzhuang's charm was outstanding, just like before. However, the commotion caused previously made her even more astonished. Bailey Hongzhuang was definitely a genius alchemist, but the disciples of Tiangang sect didn't know about it at all. It was really unexpected. Moreover, from the position where Bailey Hongzhuang was standing, it was obvious that she wasn't the main character of this alchemist competition. She had known Bailey Hongzhuang for so long. Bailey Hongzhuang had always been the main character, and had never been reduced to a supporting role. It seemed that Tiangang sect was indeed extraordinary. There were too many outstanding alchemists to mention. If she was lucky enough to become a member of Tiangang sect, she was afraid that she would have to cultivate even harder in the future. Bailey Hongzhuang stood in front of the alchemy furnace. Following the loud sound of gongs and drums, she started to take action. Almost all the alchemists started to take action at the same time. The level of the pills that they wanted to refine wasn't low, so the time spent naturally wouldn't be little. 6 hours seemed to be a long time, but once they started to refine the pills, this time wasn't considered much. If there was a mistake in the middle, then it was very likely that the second refinement would be too late. Therefore, although the requirements of this competition seemed simple, it was actually very harsh. Bailey Hongzhuang had already thought about it. The pill that she wanted to refine this time was a 6th grade pill. Rejuvenation pill. The effect of the rejuvenation pill was different from the usual pills. It could let people regain their youth. To women, this was undoubtedly their favorite pill. The lifespan of cultivators was much longer than ordinary people. The speed of aging was also much slower. However, women naturally loved beauty, and aging was something that no woman was willing to accept. Therefore, the rejuvenation pill had always been a medicinal pill that many female cultivators fought over. However, the rejuvenation pill had not appeared in the Xingxian continent for a very long time. It was said that the pill formula for the rejuvenation pill had been lost. As a woman, Bailey Hongzhuang naturally remembered the pill formula of the rejuvenation pill very clearly. The rejuvenation pill was a superior pill among the 6th grade pills. It was quite complicated to refine. This time, she was going to rely on the rejuvenation pill to defeat Shengguan Yufeng. Putting aside the fact that the rejuvenation pill was of a high grade, in addition to the fact that it was a long-lost pill, unless it was a grade 7 pill, it would be very difficult to defeat her. The alchemist competition this time was related to Tiangang sect's reputation. She must protect it, regardless of whether it was a 5th grade medicinal pill or a 6th grade medicinal pill. They were all extremely precious. Therefore, during the course of this competition, practically none of the alchemists had placed the medicinal ingredients one by one on the table. The reason for this was to prevent the pill formulas that he had refined from leaking out. Therefore, when every alchemist was refining a pill, they would need to take out a medicinal ingredient from their qianquan bag. Bailey Hongzhuang's mind stirred, and the essence energy in her body gushed out. The fiery phoenix golden elixir furnace's alchemical fire also started to burn. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.